fractions week 3. Okay, with this one, I'm going to go through simplifying fractions, equivalent fractions, ordering fractions, and turning improper fractions into mixed numbers, and vice versa. Right, so in primary school, you learn the basics of all of these. They're so boring, and you wonder what the heck is the point in all of this. And it can be hard to think about, especially if division and times tables are a little bit. It's easier when you know your times tables, like so much easier. But this is why it's important to kind of practice those things as much as possible. These come into play in high school. Not only do you need to do all of these, but you need them for other fractions questions and other things. You need to spot things, you need to sort things out and all of that. So they do have a knock-on effect with other topics. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of these, and then I'm going to put worksheets into the comment section so that you can practice away. Important, it's very, very important. If I had 6 over 8, and I've been asked to simplify that. To simplify it means to make it smaller numbers. So 6/8 is exactly the same size as another type of fraction. You can just say it in an easier way. So if I have this cut into 8s, it's always pizza when I do it this way. And I need 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice that this is exactly the same as 3/4. Same thing. Now, that's great if you can just recognize that and know that, but there is a way of calculating it whenever it's like way bigger numbers here and you have to simplify it down. You think of a number that goes into 6 that also goes into 8. In other words, what can these both be divided by? It has to be the same number. So these are both even numbers. I always start with the simple ones. If they're even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, or ends in 0, then you can divide them both by 2. So you divide both of them by 2. Then 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And there you go. You've got it simplified. That doesn't go any further because there's nothing that goes into 3 that also goes into 4. That's as far as it goes. Now, for those of you at high school, there's a hack for that. You go in and use your fraction button and put in 6 down 8. 6/8, whether you can see that or not. And then you hit equals. It gives you the fraction simplified. So just in case you don't know that hack, learn it. Right, so that's that one. If I had a more complicated one, it's really not complicated, it's just maybe needing to know higher numbers. If I had 9 over 15, well, I know that's my counting in 3s, so I'm going to divide them both by 3. So 9 divided by 3 gives you 3, and 5 divided by 3 gives you 5. So 9 over 15 simplified is 3 over 5. And as I say, there's nothing that goes into 3 that also goes into 5. If I had something a wee bit more disgusting, like 40 over 360, first thing I spot is that they both end in 10. So I can divide both of those by 10. I mean, I'll not be done at that point, but that's fine. Divided by 10. To divide by 10, if there's zeros at the end of the number, means you just take the 0 off. So you divide that by 10 gives you 4. Divide that by 10 gives you 36. And then think what goes into 4 that also goes into 36. Well, again, some of you will spot the obvious one here, but I'm going to stick with what's easier for some people. They're both even numbers, so I'm going to divide them both by 2. And when I divide them both by 2, 4 divided by 2 equals 2. 36 divided by 2 equals 18. And then I know they're both even numbers again, so I divide them both by 2 again, and you get 1 over 9. Hopefully that is in the actual video. Right, so you just keep going. You do often get taught that you have to think of the biggest number that goes into them both, so that you just have to do it in one go. You can just simplify with that number. No, if you've any issues with fractions whatsoever, just keep cutting it in half. Cut it in half, cut it in half, keep dividing by 2 until you see something more obvious. And if it takes you 4 attempts to get it simplified, you've still got the answer right. So focus on that. Simplifying is important, but as I say, if you're high school, you can cheat. Right, now the next one would be equivalent fractions, and this comes up a lot in your GCSEs, but it also comes up a lot in transfer test, and you do learn it in about probably around P6 whenever you're doing proper equivalent fractions. In other words, what we just did, we simplified it. So we found that 3/4 is the same as 6/8. That they are equivalent. In other words, they're equal. They're the same thing. They're the same amount of the pizza, just said in different ways. So this one, I'm going to do 2/3 equals something over 6. We don't know. But there's, again, some people can just look at that and go, whoo. We're not all like that. But if you don't just say it, like most people who need help with fractions, they don't just say it, and that's the problem. You look to see what clues you have. You have both of your denominators. So how do you get from this denominator to that one? Denominator is just the bottom number of the fraction. The numerator is the top. It's just the name of it. It sounds like a transformer, but you don't actually need that. But anyway, 3 to 6. It's always through multiplication, by the way, multiplication or division. That's times by 2. So whatever you do to your bottom number, that's what you do to your top. So you'll do 2 times 2, which is 4. So 2/3 is the same as 4/6. I'm going to do a slightly higher one now. And I'm going to do 2/9 equals 10/. They can just pick whichever one for it to be different, to be found. And you go to the ones where you have the same one. So this time we have the 2 numerators. So how do you get from this numerator to this one? 2 to 10. Don't say +8. It's going to be times by 5. So 2 times 5 equals 10. So that is what you do to the bottom number. You times it by 5. You find the rule, you find the hack, and you apply it to the one that you need. So 9 times 5 is 45. See what I mean about needing to know your times tables? It helps. But even count up in that if you have to. Or if you're not sure of like your 5s or whatever, write down your counting in 5s down the side of the page and use that as a reference throughout. Trickier one. Oh yeah, this one. So 9/something equals 81/144. This time I would actually go backwards. How do you get from, well, nobody likes division. Okay, do you know what? I'm going to go forwards. How do you get from 9 to 81? You times it by 9. 9 9s are 81. How do you get from there to 12? So that is going to be times 9. And you're like, hang on a minute. 9 times tables doesn't go as far as 144. Yes, it can. Right. So this is where you have to find out what that number 9 times something will give you 144. I'm going to show you a wee hack on how to do that when you're not sure how to divide by 9 and you don't have a calculator. So you can break 9 into 2 numbers that multiply to make 9. So 3 times 3 makes 9. So we're going to divide 144. I've shown you this. This is like the double-decker division. Hopefully that camera's down low enough. We're going to divide that by 3, and then we're going to divide the answer by 3. 3 into 1 doesn't go. Bring your 1 over. How many 3's go into 14? 3 times 4 is 12, and then there's 2 left over. 3 into 24 goes 8 times. And then we're going to do 48 divided by 3. So 3 into 0, definitely 0. 3 into 4 goes once, and then there's 1 left over. How many 3's in 18? 6. So the answer is 16. 9 times 16. If you wanted to double check that, I would do 16 times 9 to make sure you've got it right. There's never anything as difficult as this. Just saying that. But it's good to see where it goes. 9 times 6 is 54. 54. Carry your wee 10s over. Then you do 9 times 1 is 9 plus the 5 is 144. So that's equivalent fractions. And then the next skill you need is how to order fractions. Now, I'm going to show you simple, then medium, then tough with this one as well. And as I say, there's loads of practice ones for this. If you had 3/10, 9/10, 1/10, and 7/10. Well, that's easy because they're all the same thing. 3 Mars bars, 9 Mars bars, 1 Mars bar, 7 Mars bars. Put them in order, smallest to biggest. It's going to be 1 Mars bar, 3 Mars bars, 7 Mars bars, and 9 Mars bars. That's the biggest. It's always easier whenever you picture something you like. Right, so they're all the same type of fractions, therefore you can just look at the top numbers and order them. But, of course, you're never going to get a question like that. Sorry. Instead, you're going to get ones where they are different. And I'm going to go with, that one's a bit rank. let's try this one. So we've got a half, we've got 2/3, we've got 7/12, and we've got 5/6. So this is where you need to make them all the same at the bottom. And this leads on to our next topic, by the way. So we've got 2, 3, 12, and 6. What can they all go into? So what can 2 become that is similar with all of these? They're all going to be factors of a number. So if you think of it, what can they all go into? Well, 2 goes into 12, 3 goes into 12, and 6 goes into 12, and well, 12 goes into 12. So I'm going to turn all of these into 12ths. Thankfully, that one's already done, so we've only really 3 to do. And how do you get from 2 to 12? You times it by 6. So that's what I do to my top number. 1 times 6 is 6. So 6/12. So we're changing it into an equivalent fraction. You see the links here? Then how do I get from my first denominator to my new denominator? 3 to 12 is times by 4. So that's what I do to my top number. 2 times 4 is 8. And then this one here, how do I get from that denominator to that denominator? At 6 to 12, that's times by 2. So that's what I do. 2 times 5 is 10. So then you put those in order. It'll be 6/12, 7/12, 8/12, and 10/12. But they might ask you to put it into its original form. So it would be a half, 7/12, 2/3, and then 5/6. You're looking to see the spots. This is definitely a big one in transfer test. So you're looking to see what can I make them all into so that they are all the same, because when the denominators, the bottom numbers, are all the same, then you can order them. You can't order them without that. And definitely do not try and guess this one. You will get it wrong. It takes a wee bit of effort, but you know, you have to do it. Then last one, it's changing improper fractions into mixed numbers and vice versa. This is the last one. Okay, so I have 7/2. Now, if the number at the top is bigger than the number at the bottom, then you've got more than one whole thing. So if you think 2/2, that just stands for the whole pizza. You've got the whole pizza. If you've got 5/5, that's the whole pizza. They're just cut into 5 slices. If you've 8/8, you've got the whole pizza. You've just got 8 slices been sliced into 8 pieces. So the pieces are getting smaller and smaller. If they're half-size pizzas, yay, but you still have the whole pizza. So I have got 7 halves here. So you can either visualize it in a picture form. So say, for example, you've got pizzas that are split into halves, and you've got 7 halves. There's 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7 halves. So we've got 3 whole ones and a half. So that is 3.5. So 7/2 is the same as 3.5 in a mixed number. Again, there's a calculator hack for that one, but only in the more updated Casio calculators. You can't do it in the old one. Sorry, get a new one. So this one, there's another way of doing it. I'm actually going to use the same one as an example. You know that's going to be 3.5, but to turn this into what you can do is 7 divided by 2. You see that line in a fraction means divide by. So you'll do 7 divided by 2. In other words, how many 2's are in 7? 2, 4, 6. There's 3, and you have 1 spare, but you've 1 of those spare, so 1/2 spare. Right, that's that one. And then if I have 51/10, how many 10's go into 51? So 51 divided by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I've got 5 whole ones and 1 spare. 1/10 spare. So that is 5 and 1/10. If you're really struggling with it and you are allowed a calculator, you can do that sum. So you can do 51 divided by 10 equals SD button if needs be, and it's going to, well, it says 5.1. You know that there's going to be 5 whole ones. So 5 whole ones, this is a really awkward way of doing it. So you'll do 5 times 10 to see how many that would be, and that would say 50, but you've 51, so you know you've got 1 spare. So you've got 5 whole ones and 1 spare. That's a really awkward way of doing it, but if you're stuck, use it. There's lots of different ways of doing maths. This is kind of a tricky skill here, but it doesn't come up very often. You might have to do it in transfer. I don't see it much either. GCSEs? No, not really either. Maybe in your class tests, but no, I wouldn't stress about those. But yeah, it doesn't come up very often. Now, going the other way around comes up more. So you might be asked to do 3 2/3 and change it into an improper fraction. An improper fraction is just where the top number is bigger. So this one, you can either see it as 3 whole pieces. They're broken into thirds. So you've got 1, 2, 3 whole ones, and then you've another 2 slices, and that the top number tells you how many of those size of slices you have. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and an extra 2 slices. So how many thirds is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 11/3 is your answer for that. But if you, I mean, it's great if you can kind of draw the pictures of it, but you might not have the chance because you might be shouted at for doodling. 11/3, just remember that it's 11/3 because I'm now going to solve this based off that. This is the hack. If you can just remember that this is what you do, it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of doodling. So you get your bottom number, the bottom of your fraction, you times it by the whole number that you have, and then add on your top number. So you'll do 3 times 3, then you're going to do that answer plus 2. So 3 times 3 equals 9 plus 2 equals 11. So it's 11/3, which is what you know it was. I'm going to do one more of those using this method, and you'll see that it works with everyone. 3 and 5/8. So you're going to do that times that, and then that plus that. So we're going to do 8 times 3, which is 24, plus 5, which is 29. So it's 29 over whatever your denominator is. 29/8. That just tells you the size of your slices. It's always pizza, or cake if you prefer. Pizza all the way. Right, so that's how to do all those. That's a whole load of skills just all thrown into one thing that you need to know. I'm so sorry. Now, what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to show you the next level up of fractions. So that's going to be, well, I'm going to quickly show you how to turn a fraction into a decimal and vice versa. I think I might have done that now. Anyway, I'll do that very, very quickly, but then I'm going to multiply and divide with fractions and possibly go as far as adding and subtracting. Now, I say that you normally associate adding and subtracting as the easier ones to do, and then multiplying and dividing was difficult. In fractions, it's the other way around, it's the complete opposite. Multiplying and dividing by fractions is easy. It's adding and subtracting that causes a headache. So I will show you that. I'll show you the easy way first with the multiplying and dividing, and then I'll show you the adding. Right, I'm going to put loads of worksheets, all the ones I was using there. Good luck, and yeah, I'll see you for the next one.